Man, they moved the Joker all around the field. Great player. They move him all around the field. He's in the backfield. He's at slot. He's at X. He's at Z. They do a good job of moving around, trying to get him the ball.
Do they remind you of like a Colorado type offense, or I mean, how would you just compare them to maybe what you've already faced this year?
No, doesn't remind me of Colorado. I think Colorado is Colorado. This team is very good at what they do. They got a very good quarterback. I think that's probably the best quarterback we've seen as far as being accurate with the football and throwing deep balls. So we got to do a good job of containing those guys and playing with our feet and eyes.
What did you see from your guys on some of those long runs by Michigan last week?
I think some of the long runs, I think for the most part, if they had the opportunity to make the tackle, kind of made the tackle. As far as my guys and some of the spots of where they fit on the tackles, a couple times they didn't fit right on the tackle. I think DiCaprio didn't fit right on the crack replace, and then we got to get that fixed. We got that fixed in practice. We got to continue to get that fixed in practice, and so on, so on. So I think if it was a play in the game that they had to be able to fit somewhere, it needed to fit. And if it didn't, then you've seen the results.
How do you feel about your guys' coverage? I mean, you don't see a lot of guys running free. I mean, how would you assess it?
I think they've been doing a better job of plastering routes and playing a lot of routes. They played the deep balls a little bit better. I think we're getting better at playing the deep balls. I think we had like 5 pass breakups by one cat, last week, and then three or four of those were deep balls. So I think we're doing a lot better in deep balls and making plays on the ball. We just got to come down with them. A lot of the PBUs, what they are, but I would like to come down and get some interceptions on those.
Did your role or your tone change at all because trying to keep guys from getting discouraged when the results aren't coming as they might want?
No, we just got to keep pushing. We just got to keep pushing and staying positive and identifying the mistakes and identifying and holding each other accountable and holding myself accountable and holding the players accountable and staying cool in the class on time and stay doing the small things correct and for the most part, busting it behind in practice and once we get those small things fixed and guys, holding each other accountable and all that stuff, and it'll work itself out.
Hey, Deontay was in there late and had the pick. What did you like about what he did in that situation? And I know Coach Frost maybe on his TV show said that he's a guy that you guys might try to get on the field more.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, any one of those guys that come in the game has that kind of ability to make plays, and then if, those guys are in the game, they're held accountable. For Deontay, it's the second game he's got in the game and made a play. I think in Colorado he got in and made a big play, and then when we needed it, and then also later in the game he made a great catch, dive and catch the ball. Great effort from him. And so guys like him, when he gets on the field, obviously helps us out. He's fast, he can cover. So yes, he definitely earning himself more and more reps.
Boodle was saying yesterday it feels like guys aren't working hard enough throughout the week. Do you echo those thoughts at all? Or he's basically saying he thinks that the practices start really good on Monday and fizzle out by Thursday. Is that something you see, or is that something he's just seeing a lot?
Well, yeah, I'm a kind of agree a little bit in the sense that most of it's mental. Most of it's mental. Thursdays is not a day that we tax the players physically. Mentally is really the challenge for those guys. So on a day that's mental, you can't mess that up. So really, I don't think they're tiring out during the week. I think the focus is tiring out during the week. And I think that what we got to do is coach them harder. And we got to do a better job. I got to do a better job of coaching those guys harder, having those guys ready to go on Thursdays later in the week. We got to do a better job of practicing on Wednesdays. Yes, we're having great practices on Mondays, Tuesdays, but it got to be more consistent throughout the week.
Aaron took a pretty big shot early in the game on a block. Are you getting an idea of the sort of toughness or what he's willing to play through as you go through the year here?
Yeah, it's been very competitive in the room, and those guys don't want to come off the field. And he took a shot in the shoulder on a crack block, and came out of rep and back in the rep. So, I'm starting to hear more of that, such and such is out the game. Then I turn my head, such and such is back in the game. So I'm starting to get more of that, so that's a great sign. The secondary is wanting to stay in the game and and they want to get better.
You got Braxton Clark on the field too in that game Saturday. Is he one of those guys that you kind of have on the 4-game redshirt plan, or is it still too early to say at this point?
Well, it's still too early to say. When I get the opportunity to get these guys in the game and get them fresh reps, especially against opponents like that, I want to try to get those guys in there and get the feel of it. And Braxton is definitely a guy in the future that we want to. We have a lot of confidence in him for the future. So we want to see if we can get him some reps when we can, and obviously he got to earn those reps throughout the week.
Even if it's just a few plays, does that give you something different that you can teach him just with a little bit of game film to go back through with him?
Yeah, and he's learning so much when he's not in the game, but it's still totally different until you get in the game. And so just to get him in that game so he can get a feel of the game, and so he can, what I want him to do is I want him to run the ball this way and let him get his first hit. I want him to, I wanted to tackle first. I didn't really want him to try to go get a pick, because that's probably what he'll go do. But I want him to make a tackle and let him see how I feel, and let him get his juices flowing that way.
Wait, hey, so there's been a lot of conversation about, one, guys who love football, and you strike me as a guy who does. So and when you're trying to recruit that trait, what do you look for, and what questions do you maybe ask of recruits or guys on your team to try to figure out if they have that quality that you want?
You can tell guys that loves football. I mean, those guys, they play through injury, and they just play through injury. I mean, they don't, I got a hand, I got a thumb, I got a finger, I got maybe an ankle. Those guys are trying to spat that thing up. They're trying to tape that thing up and go. So there's no secret to guys that really love football. Also, you can tell guys that love football when you talk to them and when they watch your game. When I'm recruiting guys that, hey, did you watch our game this weekend? Yeah. What do you see? Hey, coach, I saw this. Those guys like football. They're really watching the game. And when you're recruiting guys, you want to recruit guys that's like that instead of recruiting the guys that say, hey, what do you do this weekend? Oh, coach, I just played the PlayStation. Those guys probably not. They don't like football enough.
How do you feel like that quotient is in your room right now?
For guys that like football?
Yeah.
I feel like it's changing. I feel like it's really changing. I think that at the beginning, when I first took the job and started working with these guys, I think there's probably about 80% guys that didn't like football, to be honest with you. That's what I felt like. Right now, if I had to answer that question, I don't think I got a guy in the room that don't like football. I don't think I have that guy. I just think I have guys that I'm going to have to continue to push, continue to grind, continue to hold them accountable, and for the most part, continue to keep them competitive. That way that position can be taken at any time. They know it. I had rotations throughout the whole year so far. You guys have seen rotations throughout those safeties and stuff like that. I put guys in the game in a heartbeat, and that keeps guys from competing. It keeps guys competing, and it makes the group better.
Has Cam, in his short time, helped the room just with his passion for the sport?
If you watched him in the game, I put him in the game, he was balls out. I'm talking about he was trying. I was surprised he didn't get a target and put in it. He was balls out. He was flying to the ball, trying to make serious impact on somebody. And that's the kind of player you need on the field. When you talking about someone that loves football, that's what you want. You want a guy that is taking his first rep and he's beelining someone. He's beelining the ball carrier, trying to go separate that ball from him. And that's the kind of player you want. He's doing a great job. He's also been banged up, and you can't tell it. He's one of the guys that got banged up on the shoulder one play, and then I got to get the cams out, for a second, and next thing you know, I look out, he's in the next play. So that's the guy that said, no, I'm not coming out. And that's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy you really want in the room to answer your questions.
Scott talked about Michigan being physically at a different level than where your team is at right now. But with a guy like Cam, can you tell that he, even in a game where the score's like that he wants that challenge of going against him?
Those guys wasn't worried about the score. When I put those guys in the game, they didn't worry about the score not one bit. And you can tell it when they first got in from the very first rep. They wasn't worrying about the score. Those guys were worrying about the opportunity. Those guys were thankful for that rep. Those guys were thankful on those plays. Those guys wasn't trying to let the defense down, the team down on those plays. And that's what you want.